We kept on testing and testing until we had the most perfect water for us, which is very beneficial for your health, because there's nothing in your body where water doesn't play the key role. And keeping DNA together in everything, your whole cell is made out of water, and water plays the key role in it. And it's one of the biggest missing links, I think, in health in these days.
Are you curious about discovering ways of making your life better? Then welcome to my podcast. I'm Bob Nickman, and this is The Exploding Human. Listen in while I talk with all kinds of people in the fields of personal growth, health and healing, alternative therapies, psychology, spirituality, environment, and the future. I'm looking for those answers that make life better for everyone. You'll meet cutting-edge practitioners, doctors, artists, filmmakers, business people, and those who have overcome challenges. The brave, the curious, anyone who's out there helping us humans to explore, expand, and explode.
Hey, welcome to The Exploding Human. My name is Bob Nickman. Today we journey to the Netherlands to speak with Laarakker about structured water, about what it is and the benefits of drinking it and how we go about doing that. But first, I'd like to invite you to visit my website, theexplodinghuman.com. Over there, you can listen to episodes, read synopses, see some photos of my guests, read a little bio on myself. There is also a YouTube channel where you can listen, which is The Exploding Human with Bob Nickman. As I said, my guest today is Laarakker. He is a holistic veterinarian and a researcher. He is also an acupuncturist. He has spent many, many years researching water, and we discuss the difference between chaotic and structured water and what are the benefits of drinking structured water and how we can go about achieving that. Eric has examined the properties of water, conducting numerous experiments, and studied to see how the structure of the water affects its quality and how the optimal structure of water can be achieved and maintained. This is one of those topics that I can't believe I didn't know about. And now that I know about it, I'm really excited about it. This was a really fascinating interview for me. All new information, didn't know anything about this. I do have a filtering system for water in my home, but I did not know about structured water. And Eric is now going to tell us all about it. So this is Laarakker. So happy to meet you, Eric, and I have a lot of questions about water, and I know you're the guy that's going to be able to answer a lot of them. But my first question really is, you're a veterinarian, and
Yes.
Obviously you're somebody that cares about animals and the planet and all that stuff. But how did you go from becoming a veterinarian to becoming interested in all things about water and healthy water?
Well, actually, it's the other way around. Since I was a child, I was born in the forest, on the edge of a river. And I was always fascinated by the river, by water. If I had a chance, I was in the water because I liked more or less the energy of the water. There's something with water. And while we look at it as a normal H2O kind of thing, because you drink it, it's everywhere, especially in our country, the Netherlands, which is a very wet country. And but I was fascinated with it. And since I was a young child, I wanted to be a veterinarian, so I became a veterinarian. But soon after my first year of doing my study in veterinary science, I realized that we have a lot of missing links. So I started studying acupuncture, did 4 different schools in acupuncture, homeopathy, whatever there is to find, osteopathy, chiropractic, everything. And but still there was, for me, a huge missing link. So I started traveling all over the planet to see, all different modalities which are there for healing treatment. Because in my opinion, everything is connected, if you know what I mean.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
so and water was always there. It was always filled, fascinated me. And about 15 years ago, I met my colleague, Adolf Santinger, and he comes from IT business. And of course, I come from out of the veterinary science and also human science. I did a lot of schools for human acupuncture, stuff like that. And in our talks, well, we develop also measurement tools, to measure energy. And then you have different ways of looking at things. from a physical perspective, which we see with our eyes, which is just, a bandwidth of 300 nanometers or something like that. And there's a lot more over there. So because of our worries about this planet, we thought, well, we're going to start a laboratory and just see. We're going to just see and test and see what is life is about. So at that time, famous Professor Fritz Popp, he became famous because he made the invention that actually cells, they give light. And it doesn't matter if it's an animal or it's a plant, a human being, cells emit light, and they call biophotons. And the amount of biophoton actually says something about your health. So we are light beings. And he proved that. He developed a lot of devices to measure that, dark chambers. And when he stopped with it about 15 years ago, we took over the whole laboratory of Fritz Popp. So I decided to work at least 2 days a week in a laboratory. And together with the whole team, actually took the whole team from Germany to the Netherlands to do our research now. So, and we bought the whole greenhouse just for testing. And we thought, well, more or less the principles of life are the same. So let's start with plants because they have a very fast turnover. It's easier than to do it on human beings. And in our testing, we, tried all different kind of things. And when we ended up in water, then, our life changed because we saw that there's so much to do with water. And if you give one water to a plant, you get different outcome in biophotons and then other kind of waters, etc., etc. So we started researching what we already know. There's something special with water. And so the outcome after 15 years of studies, at the end of the story, we thought, well, we did test a lot of water devices, what it did on the body. And be honest, we are not satisfied because most of the water devices which we test, they do something, but they lose their power very shortly after they have been created in a coherent state, in a aligned state, whatever, how we want to call it. And so then we decided, well, okay, then we're going to start developing a tool which can change the water in the most optimum state and be most beneficial for all live beings. And so we did. We found a way, but then we had to find a way to make it stable because that's the biggest issue, to make it stable, that it constantly keeps on doing that work. And actually, it made me clear that also in my veterinary science, in health, that is also a big missing link. So not only on plants, because actually our body is 99% water. 99% of our molecules is water, which is very funny because we learn at school 70%. But that's in mass, if you know what I mean. And like proteins are 10,000, 1,000 times more heavy than water molecules. So that's how we get into this 70%, but actually 99% of your molecules is water, which is amazing because, I mean, if you look at the sea is only 90. You have a beautiful screen with the sea on the back of you, and that's only 96% water. The rest is salts. So actually, percentage-wise, you have more water in your body than there is in the sea. So if it's that is the case, then it means that's the most important part of your body. That means that it must have a very important role in health. So, and then you start studying everything what there is in water, talk with all the professors, everybody who knows something about water, and then you get in an amazing new direction. Actually, you have to go into quantum physics because water is about quantum physics. And nobody knows actually what water is. So we kept on testing and testing until we had the most perfect water frost, which is very beneficial for your health, because there's nothing in your body where water doesn't play the key role. And keeping DNA together in everything, your whole cell is made out of water, and water plays the key role in it. And it's one of the biggest missing links, I think, in health in these days.
I had a very similar experience to what you were talking about, being in the woods in the Netherlands when I was a kid in Ohio. summers, I used to go to this camp that was, and we spent a lot of time in the creek, catching, salamanders and just walking around in this and I just remember being in this altered state by being in that creek. So that idea of water and the sound of it and the energy that you were talking about, that is so real to me, and it's such a great memory for me to be as a kid knowing that was special. So I just wanted to thank you for just bringing that sort of experience up, because I still remember it. I can close my eyes and I can feel myself as a 10-year-old kid in this creek. So that's the first part.
Yeah, so so important is water that, I mean, the memory is still there, because I have the same thing. I remember as a kid how happy it was. It was like playing in water is like timeless, and actually
Timeless.
water is timeless.
Yes. So that was a very important ongoing experience that I had as a kid. And of course, as you get older and you get into the work world and all that stuff, we get pulled from nature quite a bit and forget, or just don't have the experience. So I never want to forget that. I never will. I just won't. So that's the first part. Now, when I think about water, the first thing I think about is my big question is, where's the purest, most special water naturally on the planet, and what about it makes it that way? And what you are doing, does it emulate that, or is it even beyond what that is?
I'm going to start off with the last part of your question, because I think our water is beyond it, and it has a reason. And we tested a lot of waters around this world, and I mean not all of them. So there are many places. I was skiing in Austria, and at a place that was called Bad Kleinkirchheim, and everything in Germany where there's a bath, when it is BAD before the name, that means they have healthy, water over there, and they have many of them. So Germany, Austria, Switzerland, they have a big tradition in healing waters and stuff like that. So for me, it's very hard to say where is the purest. The issue is that a lot of times when it comes out of a beautiful source, it gets destroyed down the way. And that is our biggest issue. And many people ask the question, how come that, we need to change the water and we didn't need to change it in the past? And the answer to that is quite simple, because in the past, nature did its work by, if you see a river, it always goes, in curves. It never goes in straight lines. And in every curve, when it has a left turn, a right turn, it vortexes itself. That's how it keeps itself alive. It has a beautiful microbiome in it, so a beautiful colony of bacteria and fungi, the good ones we need to clean itself. There are many minerals in it, etc., etc. The energy was right. The issue is in these days is that we destroyed almost everything what has to do with it. I mean, we built canals. We're good in that in our country. They're straight. So they're not even capable of vortexing themselves to keep themselves alive. The whole microbiome, we killed it by 120,000 plus toxins, which we put in the water. It's in the groundwater. It's everywhere. I mean, think of all the insecticides, herbicides, and all that kind of stuff. Prozac is in the water. Even in our country, you find a lot of cocaine in the water. So there's a lot of things going on, which destroys also the structure of water. And so we live in different times. And don't forget radiation. I mean, now we think we can beam with 5G frequencies through the clouds on this planet. And people don't have a clue what we're doing with it, how we're destroying it. So the water now needs more than it did in the past. So what we see is that a lot of water, when they come out of a spring, out of a well, they're nice. But when it goes down the river, or we take it over here, we even test water from Greenland, South Pole, etc. But as soon as it touches, like a lot of radiation and stuff like that, it becomes what we call chaotic water. It's not structured anymore. So, and of course, there will be places, and I heard of many places where, there's still good water healing on top of the mountain. We didn't test them all. We tested a lot of them. And mostly, probably if you would live there, drink the water over there, will be very beneficial. But if you would buy it from there, take it from there, take it back to our Western countries, then I'm sorry, but what we found that all of them will be chaotic at that moment. And that was actually our goal in our whole research to make like I said, the water stable, so it won't be harmed by radiation and all that kind of stuff. And we managed that. All the tests that we did is with old water, like 3, 4, 5, 6 months, even sometimes a year old water.
Wow. So there's a process. I mean, I don't know if I would understand the process.
Try to explain a little bit of what we do.
Okay,
how
great.
we make the water what we call coherent. Let's say you have in general, you have two states of water, chaotic and coherent. Yes. And chaotic water is like, you have these H2O molecules and they bump against each other, they crash against each other, they're just at randomly moving, This is chaotic water. If you manage to let the H2O molecules work together, like in an army, when people, the soldiers, when they do safe movements, if you manage to let the H2O make the same movements, you're going to behave completely differently. And they're going to work together. And that's what we call coherent water. Let me explain by light, because that everybody knows. If you have a bulb of 5-watt light, it's chaotic light and it gives you some light, but not a lot. If you manage to work all the photons, the electromagnetic waves together as one in unison, then actually it becomes a lot more powerful, and then you get a laser. Actually, that is what a laser is, and a 5-watt laser is a very strong laser. So that's a completely different story. So the more or less the same we try to do with water. Let all the molecules work together, that it forms a structure. And we like to call it a crystalline structure. Of course, we don't know because you cannot see it in a microscope. But then it starts behaving like crystals. And crystals are receivers from energy, and they emit energy. And the same happens with water. If you manage to make it coherent, let all the molecules work together, it starts behaving like a crystal. It starts collecting energy and giving energy. So when we found that principle, you can put it in bottles and try to sell the bottle for a lot of money, but actually we wanted to do it the other way around. So we created a kind of mother water, and we call that analemma, which actually is the movement of the sun in position to the earth. And so it changes every day. And what we found is that actually this water starts communicating a lot better with the whole cosmos. And that's, I think, personally, the most fascinating part of it, and why it is very beneficial for your health, is because it starts communicating with everything around it, like this crystal. Like I said, if you put in first radios, there was a crystal in, for reception of the broadcasting what you want. And more or less with the water is the same. So we managed them to work them together, and that was kind of a mother water. Then we put it in quartz vials, quartz sticks. Some people call it wands. And and this quartz is very important, because quartz, that's almost all the information through. You can program quartz, and we use it in also a lot of techniques. You use a quartz crystal thread. So but we use it so the energy from the inside goes to the outside, so you can make as much water if you want. It's just like a wand. You put it in water, you swirl it, and all the water inside will become coherent. And actually now we created devices for your garden, and also devices for in your home. So all the water what runs out of your tap will be coherent.
Okay, now I'm starting to understand a little bit. This has been a little hard for me to wrap my mind around, but you have quartz wands, and these go into regular old water that isn't coherent.
Yes.
And it changes the structure, so it becomes structured water that's coherent. And then you can so with these devices you can change the water in your home or really anywhere, I guess. That has and I'm assuming size of the quartz has something to do with the amount. Is there a correlation between the amount of water and the size, or can a very small amount of quartz do this?
Well, it's not the quartz. The analemma water is inside of the quartz. Like the liquid is inside. Well, it depends on how much time you have. But
I got all day.
So then they can do a lot of water. And, like for a normal glass, it takes 10, 20 seconds, or no, like a half a liter of water, it take 10, 20 seconds or something. Depends a little bit on how disconnected the water is, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And, but I know, like, there's a farm over here in our country, and it's a big pig farm, and they use just like one quartz vial in their container. And they claim that since they use it, they have 50% less abortion and less immune system problems, etc., etc. So they do it with a small stick, but actually we created big ones, like 5 centimeter pipes, which for agriculture and for all kind of purposes. So when it runs, and that's a little bit different principle. The water runs through it, and then it makes it coherent, and then everything what comes out makes it coherent. I'm living on a farm myself, and all the water which we have over here, my horses drink the water, coherent water. We shower with it. It's it's everywhere. And then even we found out, and a lot of people say when they enter the farm, the energy is different. It's because of the water. So water changes everything. Water is sometimes, I say, water is God's tool to create, if you know me. It's God's way to communicate. And if you want to call it God, quantum physics, it doesn't matter. I mean, water is the big receiver of all the information there is. And I did a school on quantum physics. And one of the first questions I asked this person is water the bioquantum computer? And he said, yes, now you understand.
Wow.
And so that's, for me, it says enough for me. Water is the bioquantum computer. Maybe that makes it easier in your mind to understand what water does.
Making sense to me on a energy level, I guess it would be the right word. Like that feeling I had standing in the creek and being in that water was transferred all through my body. And now you're doing a very similar thing with, actual science to create this thing that is in a sense beyond science. It is science, but it's got a spiritual element to it. It's got an energetic, cosmic type feel to what. Now tell me, I'm just sort of, my words are not exactly perfect on this, but do you feel differently on your skin when you shower with it? When you drink it, does it taste differently? How would I respond to this water, do you think? And would it be immediate? Would I really be able to tell right away?
Most people do. Not everybody's sensitive enough, but let's say 90% of the people, it's quite simple. When you give them 2 glasses with ordinary tap water, I swirl it with a wand, one and the other one, you taste the difference immediately. It's more viscous, it's fuller on a taste. And so personally for me, like when I shower with it, I shower twice a day because I love showering, I love water. And my skin gets less dry from it. Mm-hmm. The most important thing is that you have to understand the whole relation. And the whole relation is your microbiome, information, and water. Information is everywhere. Information is very important. For me, a chronic disease is a miscommunication in the body. If it's long enough there, then you get a problem. And there is no difference between physical stuff and energetically stuff, actually. And the only thing is that we see it's more dense. The energy, when it becomes more dense, it becomes physical. I know some quantum physics say not matter, but quantum information is the building block of everything. It was huge in the newspapers over here years ago. There's a very important sentence. So not matter, but quantum information is the building block of everything. At least information is the building block of everything. So you have information, you have water, and the third very important part is your microbiome. And I'll come back to that if we can discuss some of the studies we did. Your microbiome, a healthy gut, has more or less 1,000 plus 1,200 species in your gut, which do all the work for you. They take care of your health, your immune system. 80% of depressions actually come out of your gut. Parkinson has been improved coming out of your gut. Probably multiple sclerosis also. Also, a lot of brain disease, come out of your gut through your brain gut axis through the nervus vagus. Well, we found out that especially the good bacteria, they love structured water. They start growing very fast from it, and we proved it. And so the right ones, actually, we did a study in the soil which had been destroyed by glyphosate, and double blind, and we some got normal rainwater, the other one got structured rainwater, so analemma water. And then we saw that there was an enhancement of the DNA in the soil very fast, and even it was start taking up CO2. And one of the biggest issues on CO2 is that the soil doesn't take any CO2 anymore because the retarding of the microbiome in the soil. The same in our body. We have been destroying our microbiome in our gut and on our skin. You have 1,000 plus species on your skin. Actually, that is your immune system. Your immune system are these little buggers, and they do all the work for you. So even when you shower, you feed those 1,000 plus microbiome bacteria and everything on your skin. And I read somewhere that even now in the brain, they found 1,000 plus different sorts of DNA. So you even have a microbiome in your brain. So it's fascinating. So if you look at it, we have 10 times more bacteria in and on our body than we have body cells. Even the mitochondria, and we can come back later to that, in every cell have been proved to be bacteria. So actually, the way I look as a doctor in a body is completely different than what I learned at school. For me, a body is a colony of bacteria in a pool of water run by the cosmos. And everything what I tell you now is scientific the truth. But we don't deal with it in the whole medical science because it's not a good business model. But actually, that is true. So but the water is in the middle. The water is the one who's taking up all the frequency, the energy which is there. Like we did an example, we did a study on plants we put in a dark chamber, 24 seeds, give them water, all of them in a carousel with in a dark chamber, and then the photons will count, constantly. And so we saw the difference between the different waters, but also what was fascinating is that there was a kind of rhythm through the months on the water, on the seeds who got analemma water, but not on the regular water, far less. And so what's happening over there? We see a nice, beautiful sinusoidal curve. What is happening over there? Then actually we found out that it was moving according to the moon phases. So it started to react more on the moon phases. So there's, that's why I say there's a lot of more connection to it. And so from every perspective, things are changing. And of course, the first one is the taste, what you feel. You feel a little more clear in your mind. And on the long run, you're going to find out that it has a lot of beneficial effects on your body. And we did a lot of research lately on the microbiome. We saw an enhancement on the microbiome index, so that the good ones actually start and you got more good bacteria in your body. It was a double-blind, placebo-controlled research. We did an ATP study, and ATP is actually produced by mitochondria, and every cell has about 500 to 7,000 mitochondria. And mitochondria, they produce ATP, which is actually your energy, but also does a lot more because it's one of the most important things for your immune system, aging, chronic diseases, everything. And we proved double blind by giving the right water. We got an enhancement of 23%, I think, of ATP in 2 months' time. And that's a lot. So all the stuff, they love the water. And what I personally see on people who drink the water, they become more conscious. And that's personally one of I like more than the physical part. And and the reason is, when you drink water, if you're open, if all your antennas to the surroundings, to the cosmos are open, and then you're going to know by yourself more what is good and what is bad, if you know what I mean.
Yes. Well, you're going to heighten your intuition.
Exactly.
That's the correct word.
And you get the right information. So on all these factors, it does its work. It needs some time. Of course, I cannot say by drinking 2 glasses, everything has changed. Of course not. That will be like a wonder. But I can say for myself and all the people I see around me and all the research that we did, because all of it we proved scientifically, and all of it is double blind, placebo. So it's not like the people knew. They got also a stick, but then with ordinary water, and the other ones they got the analemma one. And we saw huge differences, not only in plants with it, like the biophoton enhancement was 50 to 100% more biophotons just in a tomato. They look the same, the 2 tomatoes, but one has a double amount of light in it. Which one do you want to eat?
Obviously the one with the energy and the light.
Yeah.
Interesting thing that comes up in this podcast quite a bit, and you talked about it quite a bit here, which is inflammation. That seems to be, for a lot of physical problems, the root cause of a lot of things. It keeps coming up as inflammation. And the second thing that comes up, this is on the more psychological side, I suppose, is trauma. And you're saying that this water really can help with both, because you were talking about,
yes.
So there's a biological and spiritual component to both of those things, and they kind of work together in a lot of ways. Both things are traumas. One's an actual event or situation that traumatizes a person psychologically or spiritually or emotionally, and the other one traumatizes the actual microbiome in the body. They're both traumas in a sense.
Yeah, true.
Two types of trauma.
Actually, we did like a glycanage study, and a glycanage is actually a mark for the inflammation in your body, for the aging in your body, and the glycan health says something about the age of your body, and it says something about inflammation. It says something about actually the EGEs. It says a lot about EGGs. It says a lot about what it does matter. But so we did a test on 21 people, and we gave them the water. In 3 months' time, we saw a reverse of aging of 1 to 12 years just by drinking the water. So that means that the inflammation goes back. Personally, I think the reason for it is, again, go back to the microbiome, because inflammation has a lot to do with the health status of your gut and all the other bacteria. And so the microbiome, and so and especially also on the mitochondria. So on every level in inflammation, this water helps for sure. The trauma part is, I'm not saying by drinking the water your traumas are gone. Of course not. Right. But everybody deals differently with traumas. And what is a big trauma for one person can be a smaller trauma for the other one, or no trauma. And that also depends, of course, on how you deal with it with your own mental state, and how healthy also your body is, how, what it does to you. And like I said, this water is not gonna get away all the post-traumatic stress syndrome if you were in a war and stuff like that. Of course, that's nonsense. But by having a healthy microbiome in your gut, 80% of depressions actually they come out of your gut, because acute trauma, stress kills your microbiome. So if you can reverse a little bit of the microbiome, then also the trauma will be less heavy, less strong. And it doesn't mean that you don't need to work in it, but all kind of beautiful therapies that there are there. But I'm 100% sure that it is beneficial. You know, the edges go out of it, if you know what I mean. You can deal with it a lot better.
Well, particularly if your mental clarity is improved, that's going to help a lot
Exactly.
to be more aware and conscious. Then you can see things for what they are. Not they don't just magically go away, but you can have an increased ability to handle those things, which is sounds incredible.
Yeah.
I'm really kind of blown away by this, and why doesn't the entire world know about this?
Well, I don't need to
I mean,
tell
I
you.
know why, but
You know why.
Yeah. But it was rhetorical, but yeah,
Yeah.
I do. So I just I need a little bit more clarification on what's inside the crystal.
There's a mother water, a perfect structured mother water inside in that crystal.
Okay.
So when you swirl like in the water, it will give all this information through the quartz crystal to the non-coherent water.
The mother water. Yes. Yeah, that's an interesting term to use too, because you know that the mother is the life giver, and
exactly. And where do you stay when? I mean, if you're a fetus in your mother, you live in water.
You sure do. You sure do.
We come out of water and we'll go back to the water.
Man, I'm kind of blown away by this interview. I had no idea that this was a thing. I saw, I read it and I just was like, this sounds amazing, because, I think about water all the time. And, it's an interesting thing. I know quite a few people that, myself included, but don't drink enough water because I don't like it that much. I have to be really sort of aware of the type of water I'm drinking, because it isn't as delicious as I remember it as a kid drinking out of a fresh spring. Certainly tap water is just awful. It just tastes like crap. It makes you feel nauseous when you drink it. And a lot of the bottled water is junk. So, like I was telling you before we started, that I have a reverse osmosis system, which, but I think it probably takes out some of the things that are in the water you're talking about, along with the dissolved solid, the solids that are in there.
I can give a command to that if you want to say something about it. I have nothing against reverse osmosis because it cleans up, and the best way it takes out all the toxins. The issue is, I mean, we have toxins, of course, everywhere. So I'm also constantly looking at what is the best system, to get it out. There's one issue with reverse osmosis, like you said. Well, actually, there are three. One is it takes out all the minerals, which I think are very important. And the same with the distilled water. That's not also. And the second thing is that destructures also a little bit of water because you push it through membranes, and and the other hand, the memory of the toxins will stay inside. So the structure of whatever kind of what is in it, mercury, whatever, doesn't matter which is inside, will stay inside. So the energy of all the toxins is still inside, although the physical part is out of it, which is great. And I also must say, our analemma stick doesn't take out the toxins. So I like to use both, if you know what I mean. And we need to take out the toxins, but then still, there is something when you make the water coherent and it can work perfectly together, then you're gonna taste the complete different taste. You're gonna taste the old water you used to. The issue is, of course, with all the tap waters, I think you use a lot of chloride in the US. Luckily, we don't do that over here, which is
Yeah. And
killing.
fluoride too.
Yeah,
That's
I mean
big.
it's crazy because I mean it actually destroys everything, and I don't even want to talk about fluoride, which is totally insane as far as I can see, and but also on chloride, because chloride, what do you want to do is you want to kill bacteria. Now go back to the story I told before of your microbiome. So you drink water which is destroying your immune system. That is what it's doing. So I putting chlorine in it, it's insane as far as I'm concerned because of that you kill your bacteria, and of course you need to do something to clean it up. And so I'm in favor of different devices for cleaning the water, but still the structure of the unstructured water before will stay inside. So when you structure it, you're going to change completely the taste of the water. And I want to add a little bit to it. A lot of people hate water, but I'm going to promise you, if you're going to drink this water, you're going to love it.
Yeah.
And I'm convinced that you need less water. Why do we need to drink 2 liters of water? I mean, this is a complete waste. Imagine 10,000 years ago, you had to travel like for 5-6 days without a pot with water. Then you had to carry more over 12 liters of water. You
You're
cannot
saying
carry anything anymore.
up the quality, and you don't need the quantity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the reason why we need a lot of quantity of it, because the quality is bad. First, when I started off drinking this water, and that's what I hear back from a lot of people. First, you start drinking a lot of water because you love it, you like it, and then you start drinking less, and you need less because your body wants to make the water coherent in your cell. You have like what Jerry Pollack calls the fourth phase of water, the gel-like state of water. And that is coherent water, and your body wants to do that because so it needs a lot of energy to make it coherent himself. If it doesn't need all that energy for making it coherent, you don't have so much waste anymore. Think about, I have horses over here. When they're out in the pasture, when the grass is green, they drink a lot less water because there's a lot of coherent water actually in plants. That's why people in the desert and animals in the desert preferable they take their water out of plants because it's far more sufficient.
It makes a lot of sense. So if you're setting up a water in your home, you would put it through some sort of a cleaning system first, right? And then make it coherent
or afterwards. Both will do. We did some tests on reverse osmosis, and when the distance is about 3-5 meters, from our device and the reverse osmosis, then it will stay coherent.
Okay.
Or but that's for the inbuilt home device. But if you use a wand, then it's easy. You put your water in a can, and then you make it coherent.
Is it better to use it in glass than? Is that the best container?
Glass or copper.
Glass or copper. Okay, definitely not plastic.
In India, I mean, we traveled a lot to India because actually they were very busy in India with a lot of spiritual leaders because they understand the concept of water a lot more than we do in the West. Yeah. And actually in India they put a lot of water in copper vials. Personally, I don't like the taste, but it's good for the water.
Okay, yeah. I like
but
glass.
I don't like plastics and I don't like plastics and stuff like that. I mean, that's an issue. And of course, with all the bottled water which you have, I mean, you can taste the plastic in the water. It's horrible.
You definitely can. And then if it gets hot, then it's leaching plastic. It's just, it's so disgusting to me. I can't even.
I agree.
Like, you want some water, and somebody hands you a hot bottle of water. No, thanks. I'd like some water though, but not that.
No. Oh, that's why even if we go for a holiday, like in the south of Europe or something, that we always take our own cleaning stuff and everything with us. And it's a lot cheaper anyway than buying all these plastic bottles. And it's better for nature that you don't have to throw all these bottles away.
Yeah. It seems like we have, as a species, we've gone by trying to progress, that we've gone backwards on the important things. We've
Well,
sped
physically and
things up.
spiritually, yes.
Absolutely. It's
I
just
mean,
ridiculous.
what is my most given advice for people with chronic diseases? Go and walk in nature every day for at least an hour. That's even more beneficial than my acupuncture and whatever. I mean, get in tune, get back to nature again. Take your shoes off and go bare feet, walk, try to feel the earth again. And it's going to give you a lot of information. Don't be afraid of the sun, because now we're completely been made afraid of the sun. It's wondrous that we can walk over here for 100,000 of years and suddenly the sun is our biggest enemy. I mean,
Yeah, I never understood that one. That just doesn't
no.
make sense. Okay, so the universe has created this species to live on Earth under the sun, and now it's not good for you. It
Yeah,
doesn't make.
exactly.
There's no logic to any of that. It
If you
make.
come to our country now, because we didn't have sunshine for a long time, to be honest, in the Netherlands, and if you look now outside, everything is gray. If you look at the people, everybody's heavily depressed, and we need the sun. We're waiting for the sun. I mean, it's our life giver. How can it be your enemy? It's a different story, of course, than let your skin burn in a
Yeah.
holiday when you're completely white. That's a different story. But for the rest, I mean, the sun is my biggest friend, to be honest.
Well, when I moved from the Midwest in Ohio, which is a very cloudy environment, probably similar to where you are, to Los Angeles, my depression went away. And I wasn't heavily depressed. I just had a low grade, constant feeling of heaviness.
Mhm.
I thought it was, something based on my upbringing or something, but actually that might have been part of it. But when I got here and started to walk around in the sun every day, my mood changed completely.
Yeah.
And when it rains, all of a sudden, or gets overcast, I love the rain, but I also go, oh, you're a little down today. Oh, right.
Okay.
There's no sun. It completely changes it. And also being outside. My wife is a gardener, very heavily into gardening, and she gardens barefoot, like you were talking about. And it is the happiest I ever see her is when she is barefoot in the dirt, touching plants, singing,
Well,
singing. I mean, just not even aware and time goes. Time just it stops. I mean, she's just in this altered state, like we were talking about being in the creek or the river.
yeah.
It's so wonderful to watch that. And
You have a smart wife.
Yeah, I get that's just who she is. I don't even know if it's a type of intelligence that isn't
Well, that's listen. Everything is in there. All
yeah.
our the intelligence is in there. As long as we're not too much attached to your mobile phone and Twitter and whatever's going on over there, and go back into nature and see what that does to you. I mean, it brings so much. I mean, it is. It's for me, it's incredible. And the good news, actually, for your wife is that we have now probably, hopefully, in a 1 2 month time, we have an analemma device for gardening, which you can put on your hose and you can garden your whole garden.
Oh,
And so then you have the combination. So actually it's quite funny. We talk now about the sun, but the sun is like for me is quantum physics. That's the information which is there. So you already feel a lot better when you get the information. Suppose what happens when you have the right water. So your radio comes in tune completely again with the information which is there. Well, you have two of the three ingredients for a happy life, and your microbiome will come. I'm convinced of that. I'm not going to say it will solve all the problems, of course not, but it will be, very beneficial. Well, that's what we prove with it in all kind of research. So for us, it's no doubt, and it's very important.
so happy that you're on this show and that we can.
You're
How do
welcome.
people find you and learn more?
Yeah, dus analemma-water.com.
Let's spell that really slow.
ANALEMMA, analemma
Okay.
water Check out the analemma on the internet, what it is.
Okay.
Then you'll understand. And if you look at the sign we have, like it is the infinity sign.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, that's the movement what the sun does, in position of the earth and the sun. Like in the winter solstice, the sun is very low. And in the summer solstice, it's high. And in between, it makes like an 8, an infinity. And it's funny that if you talk about how far we are gone from what's over there, nobody knows what an analemma is, but we see it in front of us all of our life. And so that's why we choose that word, because it says what it does, and it changes the information in the water every day, what you need at that moment. And because we are rhythmic beings and not an arrhythmic beings, and we're not like, in the winter you're different than in the summer. Like from the acupuncture point of view, now we go into the springtime, so that's a liver time, your gallbladder time, and then we go into the summer, that's your heart and small intestine time. In the winter time, it's your bladder and kidneys. And and these old Chinese did an amazing job already to look at nature and see which organs are active at that moment and stuff like that. We are not robots. Yes, I know they want to make robots out of us, but we are just not.
No.
And so we have to go back to that state and not go into that direction. Nobody's going to be happy in this artificial intelligence state. Let's put it that way. We are nature.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing how much humans try to deny it and step on it and push it to the side and make it not the reality, but it is. We're
well, because
beings.
it's not a good business model.
No, it is not, but it's a good living model.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Yeah.
When you were talking, I just wanted to add this because it made me think of something. When you were talking about the memory of, like, say, mercury in the water, even though you've taken it out, it sort of reminds me in a kind of a negative way, but how when in homeopathy where there's succussion, where they take out the thing and then just the memory of the thing is there, and that's what's actually treating you, is that memory, and that this is working the other way to still harm you with the memory of the thing.
Yes.
So we know homeopathy works.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't it not work the other way, be detrimental? That makes, I never even thought about that. This is the first time that even crossed my mind, is when you said that. And so I want to thank you for that. That's really was an important piece of information for me.
It's very simple. With homeopathy is what you do, and is actually, if, let's say, I'll take arnica. Arnica has his own energy, his own structure. What you do is actually you put the structure of arnica in that water by shaking it, potentiating it. So that's why it becomes that way. And the more it's diluted it is, the more on an energetic level, spiritual level, it's going to work. And the less diluted it is, it's more physical, how physical that it works. I must add one thing, and that would be very interesting for all the homeopaths, is that nobody takes care of the water, what they take to make homeopathic remedy. We did some tests where we used like the analemma water to make homeopathy and ordinary tap water, and it's a huge difference. It's a huge, huge difference. Even the way you make it, because now a lot of these big firms, they make it by electromagnetic devices, the shaking devices. That's a lot of wrong energy you put in it, and still works.
Yeah.
So, but it could be a lot better. Like in the days in Germany, the women were making it while they were singing. So that's a completely different energy. And the third very important part is, if I want to make homeopathic remedies, I want to have the plants out of the garden of your wife.
Yes.
And you know what I mean with that, because there has been love in the soil, there has been everything in the soil. That's a complete difference than I would buy arnica somewhere, if pluck it to get it somewhere near the highway or something like that. So all of these three components are very, very important. But don't forget the water. I mean, we use water which very bad memory in it, and I'm going to put a little bit good memory in it. I actually had a teaching a couple of weeks ago for homeopaths about water. And I told them the story, and then suddenly one woman said, "Now I know why my old remedies, 100 years old, work better than the new ones."
And people figured that stuff out without microscopes and blood tests. They just because they had the connection.
Microscope and blood tests, of course. I mean, it brought a lot of good stuff. And,
absolutely, it confirms a lot of things. That's for sure.
But there is a big but. As a veterinarian, I saw so many. I'm a horse doctor, but and a human doctor. But I saw a lot of horses or dogs who died with a beautiful blood research. If you know what I mean. If you took the blood, they did the whole research, and nothing wrong to see on the blood, but it died. So everything, you should see everything in perspective, and we want to deny everything which we don't see. Never ever forget what you see is only 0.000% of what's up there. Even in the electromagnetical spectrum, when you go from ultra low frequencies, which are your brain waves, radio waves, terahertz microwave, or the other way around, microwave, terahertz, infrared, visible light, UV, X-rays, cosmic gamma. So that means, if you go up smaller waves, all of it is the same, but you don't see it. Right. We call all of it light, but we only call light what we see with our eyes. A bee doesn't see what you see. It finds its way through UV light. That's why it gets lost in a greenhouse. So what is the truth? Some people say to me, I'm very scientific, so I'll only believe in what I see. So that's not science. I mean, that's nonsense.
That's not scientific, because there's evidence in other areas that say you don't see everything, or certainly you don't hear everything. I mean, think about a dog whistle. You can't hear it, but the dog goes nuts.
Yeah, exactly. And it's quite simple. You use your mobile phone, you have 4G. Do you see those waves? No, but they are there.
I feel like I'm being bombarded all day long.
You are.
Yeah. No, I am. I know I am. I'm just thinking, how would I feel different if I was in a more remote area that didn't have all these waves, even though some of them are there now too, but you do feel different.
You feel completely different. I mean, we love to travel to Tanzania, and I mean, there's a lot of less radiation over there than there is over here. And we feel completely different. And especially in our country, the Netherlands, it's very dense, and there's all 5Gs popping up, which is crazy.
And it's everywhere here.
Yeah, I mean, even in our house, the Wi-Fi goes off at 7:00. It's also very beneficial for children, get them off the telephones. But actually, my wife is perfect in it. If we step in a car and I put my Bluetooth on to call, she knows immediately in 3 seconds. You put the Bluetooth on. No. Yes, you did. Oh, shit. Sorry. Yeah. She gets a headache in 5 seconds. I mean, and she's very sensitive also to Wi-Fi. I mean, I also feel it, but she's more sensitive to it. So the issue is, if you're long enough in that environment, you don't feel it that much anymore. You think it doesn't harm you, but compare it with smoking. If you smoke one cigarette, you get nausea and sick and whatever. But if you keep on smoking for 2 years, then you don't feel it anymore. But it doesn't mean that's not harmful.
It's like bad diet too. People just eat like crap and they go, it doesn't affect me. I'm fine. No, well, you're actually not, but okay.
Yeah, true.
Well, I really appreciate all this. This is just really got my brain going in a great way. And I'm going to go on the website now and check out all the possibilities that are there. And I hope you folks that are listening, now you're going to say your name one more time for me in the way that you say it, because I will have butchered it up front, but you're going to say it. So folks, here he is. Say your name.
Erik Laarakker.
Yeah, that's exactly the way I was going to say it.
I know it's a tough one. I have a couple of families living in the US, and it's always a pain in the ass over there.
Well, have a fantastic day. I really appreciate your time. Folks,
Thank
go to
you.
that website and check it out. This is some amazing stuff. I'm completely blown away in the best possible way. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Bob, for having me over here. Thank you.
Much appreciation for you folks listening to The Exploding Human. Check out the website, theexplodinghuman.com, the YouTube channel, The Exploding Human with Bob Nickman. Big thanks again to Eric Laarakker, and check out the analemmawater.com website. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks.